Hello and welcome to Pods Like Us. I'm Martin, well known to my friends as Marv, and this time for something very different and very timely as well. Let's see what I've done there. We're going to there's a group of us going to have a chat now about horror films, and put your notes up there, Marv. And so I'll let everybody introduce themselves. First of all, Sean.
Good morning, everybody. It's very, very late here. I'm tired, cranky, and I think Spaces is rubbish already. How are you all doing?
Okay, and Ryan.
All right. Hi, my name is Ryan Joseph Murphy. I created and run the anthology fiction podcast called Your Horror Show. We currently have 7 episodes out right now. You can listen to our newest one, which is the Your Horror Show Halloween special with amazing actor Josh Rubin and a couple of other great creatives there. So, and I love horror, as evidenced by my name.
That's cool. And Arthur.
Hello. I'm Arthur Howell. I'm the host of Two Cents Critic, a podcast that covers books, movies, and TV shows, and I bring in a whole bunch of guests to cover all the content there. And I'm also in my mid-20s, and I'm from Seattle, Washington.
That almost sounds like one of these dating videos that people used to do back in the day, Arthur. Okay, Brian.
All right. I'm Brian. I'm aspiring, with hand, quotations, aspiring stand-up comedian, voice actor, just dabbling in everything. And when I eventually get a set up that I'm happy with, I'd like to start a podcast. But for now, I'm pretty content with just guesting on as many as I can and just, getting to know as many people. And I'm having a blast doing it. So, yeah. And mostly I'm just doing stand-up comedy at the moment. But I love horror. So.
Well, that's good, because if you didn't, you'd be on the wrong show.
I was about to say.
But I'm sure all of us will be giving you a shout to be on our shows at some point in the future, Brian.
Hey, I appreciate that. It's cool with me. I like to have fun on whatever, and you know what? I like to go with whatever the show is, and I've had a blast.
That's cool. And Tyler?
Hey, yeah, my name is Tyler. I'm a filmmaker working on my second feature film right now, and yeah, looking forward to talking about some horror movies.
Cool. And is that Doc Heath from Therapy Bites? Your microphone's muted. Okay, and Doc? Go ahead, Doc. Introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm back on. I keep on getting kicked off. Sometimes it does that, but Can you guys hear me? I guess I'm on now.
We can hear you.
Well,
Yep.
yeah, Heath. I do the Therapy Bites podcast. I think we have about 82 episodes out now. Kind of taking a breather for a few weeks, and we've got another, 20 in the cookers. So just glad to be here. I'm looking forward to hearing from you guys what you do, and just kind of relaxing for a nice, terrifying conversation.
Yes, it's all about the spooky this week. Ooh, so Go on then. We'll stay with Doc then. So, Doc, when you're looking at a horror film, what are you looking for?
Well, I was actually talking with someone earlier today about this. Actually, it depends on what you call a horror movie because I'm more of the Alfred Hitchcock, um,
Yeah,
yeah,
suspense.
maybe M. Night Shyamalan guy because I remember hearing or reading Stephen King did a book, I think it's called On Writing, and he said that he could go for the low-hanging fruit if he wants, and sometimes he said he does, and he'll just graphically describe, the heart being carved out of the chest and some creature eating it or whatever. But he admits that that's kind of low hanging fruit, and a much higher form of writing is where you organize your writing where the audience has to do most of the creation of the horror inside their head. And that's what I want to do. I don't really enjoy some, writer feeding me everything. So I love figuring out things on my own and them kind of leading me along. And so if there's if there's not a lot of unanswered questions, you really don't see the creature, you really don't see the killer, you're not really sure who it is. And I guess, to that end, one of my favorite ones was, I guess, like everybody, that Wes Craven did so well, just a work of genius, was Scream, because it's really just a whodunit, and he
Yeah,
doesn't give you that to the very end. Unlike in my younger days, like a lot of people, I was just fascinated, scared the crap out of me, but I was fascinated by Halloween because you have this immortal, unkillable, invincible, maniac. But for me, that kind of wore thin. After a while, if you got into it like I did, and me and my friends really did, so we wanted to figure out, how do you create all these effects? And we started out creating things that made your skin look old. The old Boris Karloff movie tricks and the Lon Chaney and Lon Chaney Jr. Movie tricks, and we made all those. And then it seems like there was a big escalation after Hitchcock in just, I hate to say, kind of, low rent, easy to make. Maybe, of course, I'm not a film producer. Maybe they're not easy to make, but you can create all these effects, and it seems easier than crafting something that really, really makes the audience have to pay attention. And those are the kinds that I like. I'm trying to think of one offhand. I guess it'd be, some of the old ones. Scream. One of my favorite ones is, I don't. You probably wouldn't call it a horror movie, but one of my all-time favorite suspense kind of horror movies was, what was it called? Ten Little Indians, the based on the Agatha Christie book, where I
yeah.
remember as a kid watching this. It's an old black and white. They're on an island, and if you haven't watched it, you really should watch it. But one by one, people start just turning up dead, and you don't know who's doing it. It's kind of, well, I guess we'll get down to it because if there's only two people left, it has to be one of them. I think what I like about horror movies that are done well is if you have to work at figuring it out, if you really have to tune in. Um, but I don't know if that answers your question or if I just kind of tap danced around it.
You can keep tap dancing away as much as you like. So, so,
You know,
so
mhm.
I'll go
Well,
on,
no, I
go
was
on,
just
Doc.
going to say, it's all kind of coming back to me now. One of the scariest movies I remember first being exposed to was based on the Ray Bradbury book, Something Wicked This Way Comes.
Yes,
The
Yeah,
classic.
absolutely. You were carrying on there, Doc. You were going to say something more.
maybe we'll get into a little bit of the psychology. Maybe it's up to you guys. What fascinates me is why would we watch this stuff to begin with? Uh,
Yeah.
what's behind it, what's beneath it, what's the attraction, and is there value to it? Um, but something wicked this way comes, and even the freaking advertisement will keep me awake at night.
Well, I mean, it's not a horror film, but I love the book and the film Fahrenheit 451, which is based on well, like I said, I love the book as well by Ray
Hmm.
Bradbury. I think a lot of his books and a lot of his writings have that sort of element to them, but I love him as a writer anyway.
Yeah, definitely agree. He is one hell of a writer.
And then I
So,
remember I was actually born in Nashville, Tennessee, and we uh, uh, I can kind of base dates on where I was located at the time, but we moved to Arkansas in kind of the southern middle U.S. And somehow I got my hands on the Amityville Horror, and I read that book, and that really screwed me up. I thought, holy crap, those freaking demons and everything, and then the movie finally came out, and I watched it. Of course, the movie wasn't anywhere near as good as the book. And here's the psychological thing. Why? Well, because you know back then, what were movies shot in? I don't know, 480p or something. Um, and we watched it on an old tube TV, and so I guess maybe it's worse than 480p. But your brain is way beyond you know high definition 8K. So I could imagine it's so much better just reading the words on the page. George and the family, Lutz was the family in it. And, every time I saw a fly, I thought, well, here come the demons. They're gathering. And there's a second, and a third fly, but that's, I guess that's, for me, a horror movie. So I, I cut my teeth on, sneaking around and watching, the Friday the 13th and the Halloween movies. I just rewatched part of one that I loved, a classic with Chris Sarandon. Um, Anybody know which one that is? Chris Sarandon, a classic.
Friday
Hey,
night.
there you go. Good memory. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And redone by, well, I guess it was the same guy. What's his name? I don't remember the director's name, but
Yeah, they redid it with Colin
yeah,
Farrell
yeah,
playing
he did
that
good.
character.
Colin Farrell did good, but you never beat the original one with Roddy McDowall in it. He's just big Roddy McDowall fan. Amazing, amazing. And oh, by the way, the kid that played in that, Charlie. I was sitting here, I look people up when I'm watching these shows. I look up the actors on Wikipedia or whatever. Um, Charlie is from a city in Nowheresville, Arkansas, literally El Dorado, Arkansas, and in the bottoms of Arkansas. The only thing they do down some farming and duck hunting, and somehow he got from there to Hollywood and became famous for this movie. But I read where they really didn't like the remake. The guy that played Charlie and Evil Ed or Ned or what his name was, they weren't big fans of the movie, the remake with Colin Farrell. Um,
The remake was fun. I mean, David Tennant is great in it. Colin Farrell is actually very strong in it. Anton Yelchin is a fantastic actor. The remake is fun. Is it going to have the same nostalgia value as the original? No, and that's fine. But it's a very solid remake. I mean, it's funny, Archie, you talk about you were saying like, oh, I like horror that I don't see. And I like, we're talking about like, oh, like the original Haunting, it has nothing, you never see any ghosts, you never see anything like that. It's just hearing noises, banging on walls. And I love that film. It's great. But, I think some of the scariest films we've ever seen have been things we see, which is namely The Thing. The remake with John Carpenter is considered to be one of the greatest remakes of all time, has some of the greatest creature effects of all time. And it still holds up. I mean, American Werewolf in London has the greatest werewolf transformation of all time.
Nobody's mentioned The
More of a
Exorcist.
comedy, though. No, sorry.
What was that? Sorry?
What's that noise?
Oh, I said nobody's mentioned The Exorcist yet, which has blown my mind. I mean, that
Yeah,
set a precedent.
I just saw that.
And The Exorcist is great. And again, you're gonna see pretty much everything in The Exorcist. I mean, like, again, I would, and then we have, we've obviously had icons of horror in the last, 20, 30, 40 years. You mentioned Michael, who we see in, Jason, who doesn't actually come in until Friday the 13th Part 2, and doesn't actually get the mask until Friday the 13th Part 3. And then you have, Freddy, who's another iconic figure, who's, again, you're going to see him, you're going to have the quips. So I would argue that horror is just as much about what you see and what you don't see. It's all about, though, in the essence of horror, you have to have something that is going to give you tension, entertain you. It doesn't matter if you see it or don't. It has to be done in a way that is going to make it believable for you in the moment. And I feel like horror fans in general are the most empathetic of all genre fans. Why? Because we understand that death is always one step away. And if death is always there, then you are more empathetic to the life that you live. And the fact that people say, well, why do you watch this schlock? Why do you watch this crap? It's just people getting killed all the time. Right, but people do get killed all the time, and people do die all the time, and we know that death is always a constant within us. And I'd rather see it happen from Jason than see it on the news on my TV, personally.
See, that's
I totally agree.
Like Alfred Hitchcock's The Crows was, to
Birds,
me, the Birds, sorry, was one of the most terrifying movies I ever watched as like a young kid, because it just made no sense to me. It was like, this is something that could happen at any moment, and obviously, I mean, before I was, anything into science or anything, but that, and like, I wanted to ask one question. Does I know the doctor mentioned M. Night Shyamalan.
Yep.
What do you guys think of a movie like The Happening?
Well, I mean, it depends what you think, doesn't it? I mean, in terms of a horror film, dreadful.
Yeah, I was about to say, I would agree.
Yeah, I think it depends. You could go round and round for hours about what a horror film is.
Right.
Because I think the biggest issue with horror films is, because there's a lot of bad ones as well, an awful lot of bad ones, that I think as a genre, it's got, you look down on a horror film first and foremost. I don't buy the elevated horror stuff now. I think that's just repackaging something. I don't buy it, because most of them have been awful. But I think I do come down more with the Doc, to be honest. I've not met him, so I'm not. But just in terms of my personal horror favourites are more things that you either you don't see or that you get very little explanation for. So, your Shinings, films like Signs. Although,
Signs was another
I'm not
one.
against seeing a lot of death.
But I'll counter against you on that. You see everything in The Shining. You see literal elevators of blood. You see girls being killed. You see an old woman with a disgusting body. You see everything in The Shining. There's not a lot left to your imagination.
True,
the only
but
thing that's left to the imagination in that film is Jack really crazy? That's the
But
only
that's
thing.
not the horror. That's not the horror, though, is it? Not for me, anyway. I mean, obviously, everyone sees it differently. But for me, the horror of that film aren't these random little vignettes you get of like the bear and the guy in the room or whatever it is, or the lift with the blood coming out of it. I think the horror in that is that that film's essentially trying to say, and I do need to read the book, admittedly, that the greatest horror is not some supernatural thing. It's like, it's a family member who, their type thing. Obviously, I'm not going to get into that, but I think I see what you mean. But I don't think the horror's about that, and we get no explanation for The Shining. I mean, we get a bit more in Doctor Sleep, which I think's underrated. But I see what you're saying. I don't agree, but
You're
yeah.
talking about not being able to see things, kind of the suspense. What do you guys think of the
My
like
thinking when it comes
the
to
whole
horror movies in
found
general, though,
footage
iconic images
type of
are
movies,
what's going
like
to drive a lot of the
Paranormal
times the
Activity?
fear factor. Yes, it's not just jump scary type thing that's just, whatever, just Bob, oh, I'm jumping out of my seat, I'm super scared. I understand the idea of less is more when it comes to filmmaking. I mean, I've made plenty of shorts and produced stuff and all that. But at the end of the day, though, you still need to have iconic images within horror that drive our imagination to want to be scared of something. I mean, I remember being in a theater and watching Get Out, and everyone was on the edge of their seat. And you could argue Get Out's elevator horror, whatever. It doesn't matter. I don't care. Get Out's a great story. It's entertaining. And again, you pretty much see everything in Get Out. There's not a lot left to the imagination in that film, but again, it's how the story is told. It's how the story is conveyed to us as viewers that makes us scared. And it usually great horror, the greatest of horror. We're talking about Exorcist, Get Out, The Shining, Halloween 1,
Get Out, really?
Nightmare on Elm Street, any of those. The greatest horrors are always things that we as people fear in our daily lives, whether it's closeted racism, whether it's our dreams attacking us, whether it's the suburban evil in Halloween. Like, all of the greatest horror has always come because our daily lives are filled constantly with fear.
Yes, I'm glad you brought up Get Out there, because actually before you did that, I was thinking of iconic images, and one of the things I thought of right away was like the teacup and Get Out, or even just Chris just floating in darkness, the void, and I feel like those are iconic images that I think of immediately, and among iconic images in horror. And to expand this, to go back to talking about what I find suspenseful in horror, what I find. Uh, I feel like I have a very omnivorous taste when it comes to horror. Like, I consume a lot of different movies. Like, it could be I consume like slashers. I love slasher horror. I love slow burn horror. I love the, I guess, elevated horror, quote unquote. Even though I don't really like that term, because I feel like that's kind of like it looks down on other types of horror. But stuff like Hereditary, or Midsommar. I like a lot of different types of horror, or zombie horror, like Train to Busan. I love that movie. I just saw it recently, and I think that what I just at the end of the day, I just want some good old suspense that's well executed, whether it is in the form of a slasher or a slow burn or something that is explicitly violent, or maybe it's more psychological. I just wanted to terrify me in a way that I can connect with in some fashion. Just send some fear running through my blood
Yeah,
as I'm watching this experience.
yeah, I can definitely understand that. That definitely makes sense to me. I I definitely think that there's got to be a balance found between leaving something to the imagination and giving, like horror show said, giving that icon of fear, like the things that surround you. Tyler brought up before, he was about to bring up, what do you guys think exactly of the found footage things then? Because I personally, I think Blair Witch Project was, they did it, and it was new, it was inventive, it was creative. um I think the first Paranormal Activity was, it was done on a dirt cheap budget, and you know what? I think for what they had to work with, I think they did really well with it. But as far as holding up to like all-time horror, I don't think they do. Blair Witch Project does, but aside from that, and that's only because it set like a precedent.
Hmm. So
I would argue. I was going to say, I would argue, I watched Paranormal Activity when it first came out, and again, in a crowded theater, and it was terrifying. And again, I think it's all about, most found footage films are cheap, right? Because that's the essence of found footage. It's cheaply made to begin with. So it's really about how far does your mileage vary on on a bunch of found footage movies. There's some found footage movies I've seen that I'm like, it doesn't work. It just doesn't. It's not good. It's not taking found footage into a new direction that's fun. And then there's some, like you just said, Blair Witch remains a classic. It's a fantastic examination. And again, Blair Witch's fear, I would argue, comes from the fact that many people thought that was real. They actually thought that was actually real. The
Good point.
marketing campaign for Blair Witch was bar none one of the greatest ever. And people legitimately thought the Blair Witch was actually happening. So it terrified people to see this thing potentially happen for real. And again, Paranormal Activity is just a great ghost movie. It just works because it's a really good, well-made haunted house film. And sometimes that's all you need, no matter what type of way you film it or not.
Yeah, I'd agree with both of you guys on both of those, actually, Paranormal Activity and Blair Witch Project. And then they just kind of kept going and going, and it just kind of lost its appeal.
Well, that's what happens. They try and
Yeah,
milk it,
that's true.
and they milk it, and it runs dry.
Then they reboot it, then they remake it, then they milk it again, then they make a sequel, then they make a trilogy.
Reboots. But okay, so I have been making my way through found footage horror movies, and I feel like the majority of the ones I've seen, maybe I've just been more lucky, more fortunate, but I feel like the majority of the ones I've seen, the few found footage horror movies I've seen, have been either, good, pretty good to great. And I feel like my favorite found footage horror movie is Creep. I just continue to love that movie. I've seen it twice by now, and it is just so damn creepy. Creep. Fitting for the title, and it's like well acted. I love the banter, the dialogue. It's got good jump scares, and it's under an hour and a half, so that really helps with the runtime, keep things tight. And so also in the Blair Witch Project, I know people love it, but I'll deliver the hot take and say that I did not care for it. I thought it was very boring. So I will say, I can definitely see when it came out how it would be so horrifying to watch when you think like, oh crap, this really happened? Did it actually happen? And that is a marketing campaign that will never happen again. Like that was it's so specific to that
They
time
tried with
period.
Paranormal Activity. There was a lot. I remember when it came out. They tried to recreate
Really?
that Blair Witch Project. At least here in
Yeah,
like New
yeah,
York.
they did. You
I,
just
I
can't
live
do it
on
with
Long
the
Island, right next to like
social
Amityville,
media, though.
like 20 minutes from Amityville. So I grew up here. I literally, like my wife, her family knew the Lutzes. So like now you would go up to the house, you wouldn't even recognize it. It's kind of funny. It's like all bougie and shit now. It's wild. But like here in the U.S., Paranormal Activity was like, I remember everyone was saying, "Hey, like this was apparently, it could be real, it could be this, it could be that," and in today's day and age, I mean, it's not hard to just go on the like internet, but I mean, even when I was younger, we didn't have the greatest access to everything. So it's still somewhat had an effect, but nothing like Blair Witch. I mean, you couldn't look up anything, and then if it wasn't in the newspaper, it was word of mouth, and that was a strong marketing campaign, like you said.
Yeah, I wish I would have been able again I'd be very curious to be like, oh, if I could have watched it back in that time period, how would I feel about it? But just for now, as someone who saw it recently a few months ago, I just again I was bored by it, but I can see I can understand why other people would love it. And but yeah, found footage in general, again, just the movies I've seen, I feel like, or like Wreck. Wreck is another, I feel like a strong found footage horror movie that I had a good time with. And The Taking of Deborah Logan, I also enjoyed that one as well.
Yeah, one of the great things about horror films is, though, I mean, it's one of those genres where there are various different types, as we've sort of hinted at already, because you've already mentioned, the um, one of those that's sort of almost suspenseful that comes to mind to me, and is very little known, would be a film called The Others, which I mean,
Ooh,
I'm
I've
sure
never
that
even heard
Nicole
everyone
of that
knows
name.
about
Kidman.
that.
Yeah.
The Nicole Kidman film, and I think
What
that's
a film.
incredible. Really good film, and it's really well paced. And the fact that there's that switch there, there's almost like a Shyamalan switch there, but done better than some of his films are. But
Easy, Marv, easy.
easy, yep. But I mean, and The Sixth Sense as well. That's almost similar as well,
There
with
you
the
go.
same
Scared the
sort
life
of.
out of me as a kid. That scared the life out of me. One of the
But
first horror films I ever
yeah,
saw.
but it's an incredible film. At the same time, you've got another type of horror film, as I think Ryan mentioned it, and it's actually in one of my choices of three, was The Thing, which is completely different, but it's still horror. But it's different. Do you see what I mean? It's like you've got all these different, almost sub horror in a sense.
Yes.
There's all kinds of different ones. Then you got the the Saw
Well, I mean, we haven't
hostile
even,
kind
and
of
I was going to say too, we
bloody
haven't even
slasher
brought up.
types.
I mean, you brought up The Thing, but we haven't even brought up, Aliens. I mean, both of
Oh
those
God, yeah.
are absolute,
Oh yeah.
are
Oh,
absolute,
yes.
just like,
Mm.
but again, we don't. I think the problem is Halloween horror is very specific,
It
and
is.
what I mean by that is that there's a certain feeling I want with Halloween horror. Because I can watch horror all year round, and believe me, I do. But Halloween horror hits a little different. What I want in Halloween horror is I want during the month of October, I want the castles with lightning. I want the fog. I want I want to see trick or treaters. I want to see autumn leaves. Like I want to feel the the mood, the feel of this, this kind of this weather change. And so for Halloween horror, for me, it's like I want to watch Trick or Treat, which I think is one of the greatest anthology horror films of all time. It's fantastic. I want to watch things like Halloween, the first Halloween film. I want to watch, things that are just are more kin, like Frankenstein, the original, or Young Frankenstein. I mean, I want to watch things that are going to give me a feel for this kind of classic horror, even like Hammer horror. Like last night I watched The Curse of
Yeah.
Frankenstein with Peter Cushing. So it's like I want to feel those types of things during this month because it's so specific for the 1 month that we get, where most of the time we don't really watch these during the rest of the year because it's not really the feel for them. But I would argue that Halloween really does give a different sense of horror than most other months of the year do.
Yeah. I'm definitely in agreement for sure. And definitely like thinking about it. You make such a good point about that. Just that Halloween, it's a different type of horror. It's almost like you said, just you want to see pumpkins, you want to see jack-o'-lanterns, you want to see you want to be immersed in that place where you currently are. And that's why I think things like hell, I wouldn't yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even think about like The Exorcist as a true Halloween movie. I think the thing that comes to mind most for me is like Michael Myers, because as a kid I used to watch all the Halloweens that were out, even though when I was younger they made no sense why there was, two Halloweens and an H2O and a
They make no sense as an adult, Brian. Don't worry.
I know, but I trust me, I know. And then the new ones continued off the first one, whatever. Which it was broken as hell because they could have continued it off the second one. Whatever. I'm not gonna go. I'm not even gonna go into that. But I just think that was always symbolic to me, and I know that for like my parents and shit, and even for my older cousins, they were big Jason, Freddy. Um, some of them even considered like the later Predator movies because they had like Predator. I don't think that's horror at all. I think that completely jumps genres. But
Go on,
yeah,
Brian.
so I mean, I don't know. I really do like the way that Horror Show put it. I think that Halloween does make for a very niche amount of like the ones that really put you in the mood. And
Yeah.
because hell, I mean, I even think back and I think to things like, I mean, I know they're not technically horror, but they were for me. Like when I was a kid, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Crybaby Lane.
No, I don't know
Seen
that
that
one.
now.
Anyone else?
Okay,
No.
this was a screwed up film that was made by Nickelodeon and aired one time and one time only. And it was apparently I watched it when it came out at like 10 years old, and it was aired in like the 90s. And so they got so many calls from kids who were petrified, and it was eventually given like a 17 plus rating, and it was just not meant for kids. And things like that stand out in my mind. And like they're so obscure, but they remind me so much of just Halloween. Like the Freddy Krueger, that's Halloween to me. Jason is even that's Halloween to me because it was always set like in fall before he went to space.
Yeah. Yeah. Ryan mentioned Hammer films earlier on, and one that I've got in my list as well is a Hammer film, Dracula, Prince of Darkness, and that to me is
Mm,
autumnal fall style. You know, you've got the leaves falling from the trees on the ground, which is, you know, autumnal or fall season in America. Um, so that's a film as well, and the whole pacing of that as well. That I just see that as being having that Halloween season feel to it because it's got all those elements in there.
Well, I was going to say too, another one that I watch continually every year is I watch The Adventures of Ichabod, which is on I think Disney Plus now. But that one to me screams Halloween, as well as like
yes,
Sleepy Hollow. Sleepy Hollow by Tim Burton is also another that's
yes.
Yeah.
insanely Halloween centric. You know, you
Oh,
have those like very dark colors mixed in with those very bright pumpkins, very bright kind of autumn leaves. And again, you know, I watch so many different TV specials during this time too. I'll watch, you know, Tales from the Dark Side did a Halloween episode. Tales from the Crypt did Only Skin Deep,
Uh-huh.
which is their Halloween episode. I mean, like I watch all of that stuff too because again, it's a feeling that you're getting during this time of wanting to see certain things. You want to see costumes. You want to see like kind of gory but fun. Like, and again, we had Friday the 13th fall in Halloween this year, so it was great. You could watch Friday the 13th, you know, a couple of movies on the day of this year, and it felt Halloweeny. But there is I think, a specific feeling you get when you watch these types of like gothic horror, kind of like, you know, again, the Universal Monsters, Hammer, and like some of these like specific haunted house films and specific slasher films that really harken to like the feeling of what Halloween is for many people. And so yeah, I think it's very specific in this niche, and especially in the last week that we have here of Halloween.
Hey,
Yeah, I'd
totally,
also say
totally.
Nightmare on
Oh,
Elm.
sorry. Go ahead,
I
Arthur.
I was gonna say Nightmare Before Christmas also. It's very much a Halloween movie. Nightmare Before Christmas, and also Coraline as
Agreed.
well.
Yep. I think it was the person who does Holidays After Dark, Kristin. She said to me that A Nightmare Before Christmas. She has this tradition that she does where she will watch that film for Halloween, and then the week leading up to Christmas, she'll watch it again because she sees it as being one of those rare films
I
that
can do both.
straddles both.
Yeah,
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
I agree. Here's a little. I don't know. I know that horror show mentioned Disney Channel for some reason when I was younger, and this was when my sister was at the age of watching Disney Channel. My little sister, Halloween Town, when they got frozen into stone, I had nightmares about that shit for days.
It's like Goosebumps over here. We used to watch Goosebumps on television. I don't know if you guys got it on television over there. I
Yep.
presume you did.
We had Are You
Goosebumps.
Afraid of
yeah.
the Dark on
Oh,
Nickelodeon.
Oh, Are
the
You Afraid of the
That was a
Goosebumps
Dark?
big deal.
series,
Too.
unbelievable,
Yeah.
unbelievable. Say cheese and die. The creepy
Mm-hmm.
dog's eyes.
I've
Brilliant.
yet to
Yeah.
consume any Goosebumps stuff.
I was going to say the other big one too is I grew up with watching Are You Afraid of the Dark? I mean, that was my gateway, one of my biggest gateway horror ones, and it was amazing. And again, their pilot episode is a riff on the Monkey's Paw set on Halloween, and so it's another great one to watch on Halloween.
See, when I grew up, the films that came out on Halloween were like the Saw films. That was what came out like I think every other, and I was really with them for about 3 or 4 films. I don't mind watching between like 4 and 8, but after that they got a bit tedious. I think
I will say the new Saw film is fantastic.
I've not seen it yet, but I've heard things.
I was shocked at how good it was. It was great. It was. I'm with most people. I think the first 2 are very solid. 3 is okay, but the newest Saw film, Saw X, was fantastic. I would honestly rate it right below Saw 1. It was really fun.
Ooh, that does intrigue me. I've seen most of the Saw movies, so that does intrigue me. And I'm not the biggest Saw fan, though I do think the first one is actually quite good. But the other movies that I have seen from the series, I'm like, I don't know.
Now, see, does anyone look at Chucky as like a Halloween horror icon?
Oh, definitely. I'd say so.
Yeah, put him up there with Jason and Freddy.
I think Chucky is now more in the lexicon because if you really look at Child's Play, the first 2 movies are fantastic. 2 is honestly almost arguably better than 1.
Agreed.
3 is
agreed.
man.
Yes.
Bride of Chucky's
The,
great.
yeah.
Bride of Chucky's great, but the TV show, the Chucky TV show, is great. It's actually really, really good. So yeah, I think Chucky's more now in the lexicon. I mean that's I honestly too look at like Evil Dead 1 and 2. Those are great Halloween movies too. Those are very much in the Halloween vein. So yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, what you said there with that one, with Child's Play, that brings another thing to mind where sometimes you find that these films, they hit their stride not in the first film, but later, because I think the same in a sense with Nightmare on Elm Street, where the first film, as good as it is, the characterization of Freddy is more ironed out in the second film than in the first. Is a bit of a messy character in the first film, but in the second, that's when he really becomes the Freddy Krueger that people know.
Marv, I would even argue one more film. Number 3, Dream Warriors, is actually the best in the entire franchise. It is the
I
most
like that.
fun. It's hysterical. That's the one where he grabs the girl and he goes, "It's prime time, bitch," and he throws her head inside of a TV. I mean, it's great. But that's I agree with you. I mean, I think Nightmare on Elm Street 1 is a great movie. It's honestly a little scarier, but 3 has the best overall characterization of Freddy, and that sometimes happens. I mean, look, I'm going to be pseudo kind of like controversial here. I think Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, again another incredible Halloween movie, is probably the second best Halloween film.
Ooh, that's a
I mean,
spicy one.
it's not a. I mean, let's be honest, right? I love the Halloween films, but Jesus Christ, there's some absolute dross in there. So saying that's the second one, I'd probably agree. I think if anything, it's a shame it gets lumped in with the whole Halloween series. This is not a plug, Marv, sorry, but just I watched Halloween 3 for the first time, and I've got an episode coming out, I think, for Halloween. And I was really impressed with that one. It's just a great film. And I just thought it's a shame that it gets lumped in with the Halloween films because it could stand on its own 2 feet. I know at the time
should.
It didn't get much. Yeah, and it goes places that many films won't go. In terms of like kids tend not to die, and it didn't care at all. So I really enjoyed it. So I really enjoyed that film, and it was quite iconic. And like it's 5 days till Halloween and all the masks. And I thought, how is this not better known? Like, especially in the Halloween series.
Not to mention the middle finger to every person expecting Mike Myers right in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah,
Like,
the night no one
that's
came home.
iconic.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Yep, we've been joined by JR from WV Uncommonplace.
Howdy, everybody.
What do you look for in a horror film or a Halloween film, JR?
All right, so for a Halloween film, if we're going to actually talk about that franchise real quick, I look at H2O when everything was kind of rebooted. In a horror film, I kind of look like, if we're looking for something that's cringy, I say like Hellraiser. Hellraiser, right. The first Hellraiser is like, to me is it's solid. The premise of it works out fine. What doesn't work for me is any Jason movie. The first Jason movie, the second one, both of those two just never drew me in. Any of the on Elm Streets, I really enjoy all those. The only thing that I didn't enjoy out of any horror franchise was Jason versus Freddy.
Right.
I would argue with Friday the 13th. The best Friday the 13th film is the fourth one, the final Friday. That's to me is the quintessential kind of interpretation of Jason. If you watch it, like he's fully
Jason X.
formed. Yeah, Jason
I
X
love
is fun
Jason
too.
X
Honestly,
too,
Jason X is funner than it ever gets credit for. But Friday the 13th Part 4 and Friday the 13th Part 6, both of those are honestly really fun. They're not to be taken as seriously. They're kind of a little bit more kitschy, but they have some of the best deaths. And in Friday the 13th Part 4, you see Jason without his mask as this deformed, ugly zombie. It's great.
But can I ask y'all this? What do y'all think of Jason Goes to Hell?
Easily the
That's a
worst,
pass.
like one if not the worst ones. That one was almost borderline unwatchable.
Yeah, it's a hard pass.
I'm going to have fun watching all these for the first time, aren't I?
Have you seen Candyman, Sean?
No, Tony Todd, not yet. It's on the list.
Ooh,
I've got a
that's
big
a
horror
good
list.
one.
Yeah.
Because that's one of my three. That's my other third one. That's my third
Get
one.
it down, Marv. We'll do it. Get it down. Get it on the list. We'll do it. See, my views are a bit, my list. Well, not my list of my three top, but I've just got like honourable mentions like Wolf Creek, The Descent, Dog Soldiers, Creep, the 2004 Creep with the German lass from the Bond films. I can never get a name right. It's gone out my head. But yeah, so that's where I come at it. And I'm a sucker for a good Exorcist type film. Like I like The Exorcist, but like those kind of schlocky, cursed films you get now, like the Conjurings and stuff like that. I'm a real sucker for those.
It's perfect you bring that up, Review, because one of my three, and the last of my three, and this, I don't know how you guys feel about this, is 13 Ghosts. I love that movie.
I haven't seen that one.
I've seen it in years. I have to rewatch.
I'm assuming you're meaning the remake, correct?
The one released, I think it was in like
with
2001.
With Matthew Lillard, correct?
Yes, Matthew Lillard.
Yeah. So that's the remake. But yeah, no, 13 Ghosts is fun. I mean, it's a fun, kitschy movie. It was when Dark Castle was doing they're kind of schlocky. They also did Ghost Ship, and they did
Ghost Ship was a good one.
What film that is?
The beginning iconic.
Quick tangent here.
But then the rest of the film follows.
Yep. Quick tangent here.
Great,
Matthew Lillard is the best thing in the Scooby-Doo films.
Oh, without a
he's
doubt.
wonderful. He is
Without
wonderful.
That's not really saying much, though.
So Ghost Ship, again, the beginning is great. Ghost Ship, the beginning is great. Everything else sucks. And then House on Haunted Hill was another Dark Castle remake that they made, that obviously of the Vincent Price film. So.
Yeah.
And I'll say one thing though, I actually like horror-wise, just like.
Can I just? Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, sorry, mate. Go on. Sorry, I'll jump in after you. It's all right.
I love Puppet Master, the first three.
I can't believe we've gone this far into it. I don't know how long there's no timer. We've gone a good hour into it as a group of horror fans, and we haven't even got onto the Texas Chainsaw Massacre yet. We haven't even touched upon them. Although I do
because most of them, to be fair, are not very good. And
the only ones I've seen are the first. The first one's really good. I love that.
I think the first one's horrendous.
I
hate the first one. Awful.
Wait, what? Wait.
Overrated film. Honestly.
Explain yourself.
Well, I don't think a lot of it. I watched it, the original. The music's pretty good, but the film overall is really, really poor. And I thought, like, considering that the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre film I saw was the 2003 remake, right?
Oh
The bar wasn't high, but I enjoyed that one. And then I
no,
watched the original, and I was like, "Is this it?
the
Is this
pacing.
genuinely
The
it?"
pacing was my
Interesting.
problem.
It's just, oh, it's just. I mean, oh,
But
I
the
just
You
love
first
you
one
that.
is
can beat
quite
everything.
terrifying. Quite terrifying, the
No,
first
no,
one.
Arthur, no.
One
This is
thing
sad to
that
hear. I would say the only other Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie I've ever seen is the reboot, the one with Alexandra Daddario, and
Yeah,
that
yeah,
one
yeah.
was very
yeah.
forgettable.
Review, one thing
Okay.
you brought up
Yes.
that's a good point is the music, and that's a really important thing. You know, iconic music in horror movies that brings that's something that I'm looking for in them.
Oh yeah.
You
I
know,
mean,
you
That's
think of
what
like
Halloween
Halloween and
brings
stuff
to
like
the
that.
table.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was about to say
Absolutely.
that
Even like
John.
Jaws has a really great,
Oh God, yeah.
very
Oh
similar.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Well,
The
look at
Thing, all
Signs.
that stuff.
Signs as well. That's got such an underrated soundtrack. I love the soundtrack for Signs.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
But I mean, soundtracks. You mentioned that one Halloween. There's something about the soundtracks that I think with John Carpenter that have got
Yeah, I was about to say it's
something really
Carpenter.
special because there's almost a simplicity to the
No, it's
melody,
very simple.
but
Yeah.
at the
Yes, the
same
minimalism.
Yeah.
time, it's got that eerie. Whatever he does works perfectly for his films. And in this
Right.
case, with that, and then with the music in the fog as well, and then in the thing, the music, it it's the perfect example of where the music is a character in the film.
Well, it helps create an
Oh,
atmosphere, doesn't it?
Marv,
Yeah. Sorry.
one movie before I go, another movie that should be mentioned as so supremely fun with a great fucking soundtrack is Phantasm. Phantasm 1
Yeah.
has an incredible
Mm.
soundtrack.
Here,
Phantasm
here.
Boy, and then Phantasm 2. I would argue Phantasm 2 is a better film than Phantasm 1. You can rarely find it. I have a DVD copy that I bought at Amoeba in Los Angeles. You can rarely find it. It's the rights issues for that film are just destroyed. So it's rarely on streaming.
Is
But
that
Phantasm,
why?
yeah, it's a whole bunch of rights issues with that one. Phantasm 2 though is fantastic. It is like bonkers gonzo like Evil Dead 2. The effects work is great. You got spinning balls put it into people's heads with blood splattering out. It's awesome. And then but the soundtrack for both of those movies is extremely iconic and great. Guys, this has been a blast. I'm gonna head out. I'll talk to y'all soon.
Ryan,
Hey, it was a
very
pleasure.
very quickly,
Thank
Ryan,
you.
very
Thanks,
quickly,
man.
Ryan. Before you go,
Yes.
Ryan, just let people know what you're up to at the moment and where to find you.
Yes, yeah, you can listen to my podcast, Your Horror Show. It's an anthology podcast, very similar to Tales from the Crypt and the Twilight Zone. We have 7 episodes currently out now. Our 8th episode will come out on Halloween. We'll have at least probably 3 to 4 more before we take a little break and get back into it. Our Halloween special episode, which is kind of modeled after the specials from the 60s and 70s on network TV that you had, where you would have a host introducing a bunch of different skits, is now out. We have Josh Rubin performing the Telltale Heart, and we've got a couple of other great fun skits on there if you like and enjoy horror Halloween type stuff. So yeah, this was a blast, guys. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to y'all soon.
Hey, thanks
Thank
for
you,
helping
Ryan.
us get this set up. I think you were the only one who knew what you were
Thank
doing.
you.
Yes,
It's fun.
thank you very much, Ryan.
Cheers, mate. Have a good one.
Nice to meet you.
You know, somebody just mentioned Evil Dead, and
Yeah.
I have to ask. That brings me to one of the other subjects that I want. Like I wrote down, literally circled it, that I wanted to bring up here. How do you guys feel about the campy horror films? Like, is there any love for that? Like Leprechaun, or the
Oh yeah,
Well, we
Bong,
were talking about Jason
Evil
X.
Bong.
That's campy.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, Jason
Lots
X
of
is.
campy movies.
I still have good memories. I mean, it's some people put it down as a film, really, but I still have good memories of the film House from the 80s.
Yeah.
I still
That's
enjoy.
an
I still
obscure
remember
one.
enjoying that
Yeah.
film.
I'm gonna watch this. How it was. Yeah,
But
like
but
Leprechaun. It's funny
yeah.
because I actually recently saw that for the first time. I was
Oh
at this
wow.
blood party, and Leprechaun was just. It was such a like yeah. It's like obviously the characters are dumb. The plotting is like there's really not any great plotting here, but it's also pretty damn fun to watch.
Yeah, there's
And
nothing wrong with watching something that's supposed to be scary and laughing about it.
Yeah,
It also
it's super
reminds me
popular.
of. Have you guys seen the ad for that new one coming out? Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Oh yes,
Oh
yes,
my
that's
god!
one.
Yeah. Kind of like that Santa Claus movie with David Harbour last year.
Yeah,
Yes.
That was
that
good. Yeah.
Oh,
real
Violent
good.
Night. I had a good time with that one. Violent Night. That was really
Yeah,
Well,
that
fun.
was good. Also,
what,
Jason Takes Manhattan was another cheesy one that was fun to watch.
yes.
Oh
What,
Jason
yeah.
takes Vancouver.
Yes, exactly.
what
Jason
about
takes a boat for an hour.
yeah?
Jason buys a Philly cheeseburger.
Yo, they might as well have
What,
started going in those directions.
did you all
I
talk
must
about
say,
Avatar?
Sorry, what was
Children of
that?
Corn.
what say?
I was asking, did
Sorry,
you
Ted?
all talk about Japanese horror like The Ring or The Grudge? Because those things are
Oh yeah, that's a cool one.
No, we did not
Oh,
even get into that yet.
because
No.
Japanese.
Those are some creepy movies.
Yeah, for me as a kid, I'm 38 now. The Grudge and The Ring, mainly The Grudge.
Yeah.
Even The Ring, like The
No,
Grudge,
both of those.
I
it
still
kind
need to see those.
Now, are you talking about the original like Japanese versions or the
yes,
American remakes of?
the
Oh, we're
original.
not talking about the American ones,
Oh,
no.
see, I've seen both. So, but the Japanese ones are phenomenal.
Yeah,
Way, way on another level.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I still need to see those. I feel like does Battle Royale, would you count Battle Royale as being Japanese horror, or is it more of a thriller?
I'd forgotten they were found. I was just thinking I didn't get into those, but I got into kind of more Spanish. So I got into the found footage. I'd forgotten Wreck was found footage. I know again it had an American remake, but I got into those and really enjoyed those. They were
Yeah,
pretty
Rex.
cool.
Yeah, Rex great,
We
definitely.
Americans will remake everything. Okay.
Oh, we know you take all our best comedies and murder them. We know. Don't worry about it.
Ashes
can
to
Although
ashes.
you,
I mean, life on
you know,
Mars. Yeah.
we can agree on
Hey,
Office. We ruined Office.
you did a decent job with Steptoe. You did a decent job with Steptoe and Son. You made it into Sanford and Son. It's all right. You did an all right job with that one. I'll give you that one.
Thanks.
It's all right, And Cheers is amazing. I love Cheers. So I adore that. So
I didn't know
anyway,
Cheers was a British show.
it's not. It's American. I like it. It's good fun. No,
Oh,
it
I thought
wasn't.
you
It
were
was
saying
not.
it was
We didn't really. Sorry. No. Yeah. My God, how many sequels to Wreck with it? Jeez, I didn't know there was 4 of them. I might have to do those. Jeez.
But I mean,
Quite a few.
what
The
you're
only
saying there
one.
with those Japanese films and the Spanish films, and these are,
Well, like Train to Busan and stuff like that. Like the South Koreans are
yeah.
killing it at the minute as well. So.
But there's a certain there's a certain uncomfortability about their film. They purposely go there. Whereas sometimes when you get a big American studio or big film studio behind it, they almost make the film
They
all
neuter it.
a bit too comfortable, a bit sort of
They
like,
neuter
oh,
it.
well, they
Well, yeah,
do, yeah.
Americans don't like depressing endings. They don't. It's not not. I mean, like in terms of questionnaires they've given out at the end of films. Like they've changed the ending of films to make them kind of like more positive. I mean, like obviously The Mist is is an alternative one that they got through, but a lot of the times they change things because I mean, there's nothing I like better than a good downtrodden ending. Like I watched Brightburn the other week.
Yeah.
That's such an underrated little gem. That.
Oh, I need to watch Brightburn.
Yeah. Yeah, great.
Yeah, I love
So would you?
some depressing endings. Definitely. Like I feel like Shudder. Like if we're going back to Japanese horror, Shudder is a favorite of mine. Just like that ending is just so damn bleak. If anyone.
What was the one where you had to pick the phone up? If you didn't pick the phone up, you'd die. I can't remember. I watched the original of it.
Oh no, that's
7 days.
That's One Missed Call.
Oh no.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Which I haven't
Is that
seen.
The Ring?
Yeah, I can't for the life of me.
One missed call.
That's the one. Yeah, I remember watching that, and that really freaked me out. Because who? Yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
I still need to see One Missed Call. It's been on my watch list, but no, Shudder. Shudder is the one that it's like a photographer and his girlfriend who sees these like shadows, these silhouettes in their photos, and they start trying to solve this mystery and learn what's behind these shadows in the photographs. And just like I won't spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen Shudder yet. It's 2004 movie specifically, and that movie, it is again one of the bleakest endings I've ever seen for a movie. It's like, wow, that happened for Shudder. And
Yeah, it's kind of
there was
sad
also an American
that we
reboot.
Americans.
The American reboot,
It's
which
sad.
I haven't seen.
I hate it here. Like, I hate the fact that our studios here neuter a lot of like the films. Like, I think I remember Robin Williams commenting on there was supposed to be a much like more a screwed up ending for 1 hour photo. If any of you guys know what that movie is.
Oh, I
love
loved
that.
it. I
That's
loved
still
it.
a great
that
film,
film.
though.
I love that one.
But and there was supposed to be an even more like darker ending, yet the studio stepped in and said, "Okay, no, we can't go there." That's where that uncomfortability doubles up in like the places like Japan and Korea that are killing it.
Yeah, they're
You
not
know?
afraid to do
I
that.
do think with 1 hour
Exactly.
photo though, I do think. I mean, I don't know. I know there's a different ending, but I do think that part of the quality of that film comes from the fact that a lot is unsaid, and I think the uncomfortability in
Yes.
a lot of what's going on in that film. Not that I'll get into it because I don't want to sidetrack us, but I need to do that film. But but like a lot of it's the unsaid.
Oh, have me
the
on
unsaid
for that
horror,
film,
isn't it?
man. Come on. Sorry.
Well, I was going to ask, do you guys consider Pan's Labyrinth horror?
I haven't seen that
I've
yet.
never seen it.
I'd consider that like a
Funny
fantasy.
to see it.
Yes, I would. In an in an unconventional way. I mean, yeah, because I mean, I would consider it a Halloween specific, honestly, horror almost.
Okay.
Not to drag us back, but I've just thought. I think it was Horace saying earlier about that Halloweeny type. That's not a word. That Halloween type time of the year, and then we got onto the campiness of it. And I don't know if it's considered campy. I think it's a little bit, particularly the second one. But like Jeepers Creepers, where do we sit on that? Because I have a bit of a soft spot. I haven't seen the third one. I can't bring myself to.
Oh, Lord. Can I speak on that real quick?
Yeah.
So, on my sister show that we have, Spares Under Review, we just reviewed the Jeepers Creepers series. And I have to say, for all 4 movies, the third movie
There's
ranks...
4 of them.
Yeah, the third movie ranks up there with the Room. It is one of the worst movies ever made.
Oh,
now you're talking. Now you know he's a guy, don't you?
Oh,
I'll have to give that a watch.
I enjoyed the first one. I saw the first one at the cinema.
I like
Because
the first one too. Yeah.
Because of this one thing.
I love the second one.
If you watch those movies accordingly, you should go watch the third one first. You should watch the fourth one. I mean, the first one second, the fourth one third, and then the second one last. If you're gonna watch, if you've never seen them, and it'll make sense. But if you watch them 1, 2, 3, 4, it is one of the worst cinema experiences I've ever had.
Oh, I kind of want to watch him.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say, same here.
You've sold that to me. Tell you that.
I've seen the first 2 Jeepers Creepers movies like years ago, and I remember liking the first one. Like the first one, I had some fun with. I don't really remember anything about the second movie, so maybe that indicates how I feel, what time I had with the second movie, if it's that forgettable. Yeah.
Justin
I
Long.
would say,
First one, the second one. That doesn't matter. Sorry, go on, Arthur.
I would say though, I feel conflicted about the Jeepers Creepers series because of Victor Salva as a director and how he is a pedophile. So it's like, I always feel conflicted about consuming art from people who are big creeps like that, and I don't know. Personally, I'm not in the mood to revisit the Jeepers Creepers movies. Personally myself.
Oh, I've got a spicy take here. Then listen to this. And this is spicy. I think 8-Legged Freaks is better than any of the Jeepers Creepers movies.
Oh yeah, without doubt. I will love it.
Wait, is this
sorry.
Is this the Spider movie with David
Yeah,
Arquette, if I recall correctly?
Yeah.
I have not seen it. Oh, but okay.
Arthur, come on, Arthur.
Sometime.
One of the greatest pieces of cinema. Like when he is climbing, and that it just brings joy to me.
Do you know the story about the title of that film? Why it became 8-Legged Freaks?
No, tell me.
It was originally. No, believe this is true. I'll be sensitive the way I describe this one. So it was originally meant to be called a rack attack, as in ARACH, as in arachnid. But obviously, when it came out, the whole Iraq thing, so they were like, "Yeah, we can't call it a rack attack because some silly people might think it's Iraq attacks, or let's change it to Eight-Legged Freaks. That's why they just plucked it. So I don't think that whole You Eight-Legged Freaks was meant to be as on the nose as it is. So there you go. There's a bit of trivia for you.
On the nose.
Wow. Okay.
That is
Another-
great. I
another
can't believe I
franchise
just
that I-
learned that.
I love Sean's factoids on Review It Yourself.
Oh, I am absolutely useless in day-to-day life, but in like a film quiz or like watching quizzes on the television, I am right up there. You know, I'm your phone a friend if ever you need one.
Another great one that I liked, at least the first one, was that Final Destination movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
The idea of
I
like
love
the
Oh,
that
I've
film.
seen
coming
I've seen
I
the whole
still won't
franchise.
drive
you know,
behind
and
a
never
fucking.
knowing how they're going
I've
to
seen the
finish.
whole
Sorry, I
whole
still won't
franchise.
drive behind one
Yeah,
of those.
the
The log
big
trucks.
log
The log
things.
trucks.
Yeah, the log
still
trucks.
creeps me out.
No,
Yeah.
way.
Do you know
Still
what's
no.
mad about that series as well? And I don't think a lot of people know this. Like the fifth Final Destination 5 is one of the best, if not the best, in the series, because it like took.
Really?
I
No,
can
because
hear
it
that.
takes
Yeah, I can get on board
it
for
takes the
that.
original rules, doesn't it?
Hey,
And then
so
it adds
I-
on the fact that, like, if spoilers, like the whole, if you kill somebody, you take their life in essence. And I thought to that fight of the series, especially after the fourth one, which was just a bit of a gimmick with the 3D and stuff, I
See,
thought,
the fourth one was the last one I saw. I have not seen 5.
haven't you? Oh, I don't want to tell you too much, then, but it's great. It
Yeah,
like
watch 5.
it
Watch
changes the
5.
tone of them. It decides to go a little bit different with him. It's great. I love the fifth
I
one.
can agree with you on that too. Like I said, on my sister podcast, we reviewed Jeepers Creepers and Final Destination, and I agree with the fifth one and the second one. To me, the second one is the best
Oh God, yeah.
because the way that it ties in the third one, I'm like,
Oh, Brian, I've got to say this. Sorry to interrupt,
Go ahead.
WB, but do not read about the fifth one before you watch it. Just try and watch it because I don't want it to be spoiled for you. Is all I'll say.
I vouch for that. Yes.
Oh, yeah, I want to go in blind for sure.
Yeah, you have to. Sorry, VW. Sorry, WV. Sorry, Mav. I'm taking over. Sorry.
Oh no, that
Okay.
was fine.
Okay. Yeah, Final Destination. I have love for that franchise because like it's just again like I really enjoy just watching all of these over the top kills and just all the Ruby Goldberg just like convoluted deaths and it's just some silly old fun. Now I will say, so fourth movie. I did not care for the fourth movie. That was just so bland. It's my least favorite Final Destination movie. Every other movie I like, either I like or it's like, hey, this is actually like really good. And for me, it's the third one. The third Final
Roller
Destination is actually my favorite.
coaster of love.
My favorite. It's the one with Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Yeah, I
Sorry,
kinda
Arthur, I
checked
couldn't
out after
resist.
the roller coaster one, but I'll check out the fifth one. You guys are speaking so highly of it. I'll give it a look.
Oh, it's good. It really is.
It is really good, yes. Not my personal favorite, but I can see why it has become such a popular choice of being the favorite out of the whole franchise. And I'm looking forward to what the next Final Destination movie can deliver.
What about The Hills Have Eyes?
Haven't seen that.
Well,
Oh, Arthur.
Why are you here,
I-
Arthur? I'm joking.
I know.
That's a good one. Hills Have Eyes. Like, and I will argue that Hills Have Eyes 2 was just as good.
The new ones or
Okay.
the old ones?
Interesting.
The new one.
The new
Yes.
ones.
Oh, that bit in the second one where the person gets put in that like
Yes.
part of potty, part of loo, and then they
I
get
literally know
infections.
exactly
And
what-
cry.
Wait, did you just say a loo, like a bathroom?
No. Like what do you call them? Do you know like building sites where they have those temporary toilets at festivals?
Oh, so like
The
the
Portaloo.
potties, the
Porta
porta
potties.
potties.
Or part of potties. Oh God, you Americans are so childish. But yeah,
Hey.
part of loos. Anyway, so I'm only joking. So part of potty. Think of me. Right. Anyway, the
Wanna
like
live.
the little toilets, right? I like it. You're more positive. Anyway, yeah. They like someone gets stuffed into one of those and then crawls out and promptly dies. It's great. It's all I can remember
Good
about the second one.
lord!
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah. Sorry, spoilers.
And then I'll tell you,
Yeah,
Bit of a shitty way to go, but what can you do?
yeah, my
Sorry,
last
it's awful.
it has to do with the state of West Virginia where I'm from. Wrong Turn.
yeah.
Okay, and
Oh yeah.
another horror franchise that I have not taken a dive into. You know, as much
What?
as much as I'm watching plenty of horror, like especially because I've been going through a Spooktober list. So basically, one movie for every day of October.
I love.
So I've been going through some classics, but some spots, some gaps I still need to fill.
Do you know what I really enjoyed as well? That's similar to that. No Vacancy with Kate Beckinsale. I haven't
Okay,
seen
yeah.
it.
Yes.
Wait,
Yeah.
okay, that's also still on my watch list. Yes,
What? I'm sure you've seen no Last House on the Left, Arthur.
not the original, but the reboot with Tony Goldwyn.
Oh, go watch the original.
Yeah, the original was
Yeah.
better.
That was such
Some-
a disappointing news.
sometime, yeah, sometime. I thought the reboot was okay. I do wonder if I'll end up watching the original and think, oh crap, the original is way
Arthur,
better than the reboot.
I'm so jealous of the Halloween you're gonna have this year.
I mean, I mean,
Like-
Halloween. Like, you know, I will be watching Halloween. Like, this is the first Halloween movie on Halloween since I've never seen any of the Halloween movies before. So
Oh wow.
Just
that'll
don't
be
watch
it.
Human Centipede.
Oh no!
Funny that you
I'm
bring
going-
that up.
Stay away from that.
I'm going to watch the
Oh.
original, the town that dreaded sundown. I've never seen that before. I've just ordered that. Really looking forward to that one.
Okay, so I want to say about Human Centipede. Haven't seen any of the Human Centipede movies before.
No,
I don't know if
don't
I'll ever watch them. I don't know. A friend of mine really loves
I
those movies.
have seen
Or like
them,
the first one
don't.
is. It's the first one at least. I don't know. Not really. I don't know. Not really my taste, but maybe just for curiosity's sake, I would watch the first
Just-
movie
just-
and see.
Imagine Hostel with all of the story, and I use that word lightly, ripped out of it, and like the Human Centipede.
Well, I've not seen
The second one, I
Hostel.
couldn't get past 5 minutes, and you'll know why I couldn't get past 5 minutes in the second one. Anyway.
I've not seen
Christ.
Hostel, but okay.
Have
and
you
then-
not?
I haven't, but again, I feel like Hostel might fall into the same kind of like. I feel like if anything, if we talk about horror, I feel like the one thing I'm not really all that into is torture porn. That's why I feel like for example, Saw. I feel like the first Saw movie isn't really torture porn technically. The sequels are, and that's why I'm like not really into the sequels. That's
Yeah.
why.
The
I
first
agree.
Hostel, to be
Any-
fair, yeah. Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say, has anybody here seen a movie? And I was like 18, and I went to a video rental store around the block from my house. So I'm dating myself there a little bit, but
Rest in peace,
Uh,
rental stores.
I know. But I asked this guy. I was like, "Look, me and my girlfriend at the time wanted a scary movie, and I had seen all the movies. He gave me a movie called A Siberian Film.
Wait,
Have
do you
any-
mean a Serbia? A
A
Serbian film?
Serbian film. A Serbian film.
Okay, which I have not seen, but I've heard it is
It
excruciating.
is so. It makes Human Centipede look like the Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah,
No.
I've heard of that. Between the two, if I were like, hey, do you want to watch Human Centipede or a Serbian film? I'd go with Centipede.
Do you know
It
what?
is
Do you know
like-
what film I felt like that with? So sorry. Sorry. Go on. Sorry.
No, you go on. I don't.
To the point where a film's unpleasant to watch. Now, this might be. I mean, it was unpleasant in a plethora of ways, but I watched Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, and that was. It just was just unpleasant. It just felt like some guy had written it when he was really, really angry at the world, and it's just such an unpleasant film. It was just horrible. It was like one of those songs that, singers sing when they've just had a really traumatic breakup, and it's just, you're really depressed listening to it. So yeah, I wasn't a fan of that one. So that's probably one of the worst horrors I've watched. Dreadful
I can
film.
understand where you're coming from there, though. I definitely get it. Like the tone of the movie, it just seems like because I think one of the most important things about horror is you have to to build suspense. Characters have to have hope, and that hope has
Yeah.
to be able to be ripped away, and they have to be able to build it back, ripped away. That's how you build tension. That's how you build suspense. And some of these they opt for just gore and just endless blind horror, and it doesn't hit the mark like they think it is.
No, not at all.
I got a film that's bad like that. Ebola syndrome. Has anybody ever seen that?
Not me.
Oh.
No.
Listen, Ebola is so cringy. I wouldn't watch it. I wouldn't watch it with any of your spouses. It's a Hong Kong exploitation film. And obviously, I don't have to leave too much for that. And then another one I wanted to throw in to just see if any of y'all, I consider these kind of spooky. Jordan Peele's Get Out and Us.
See, we touched on Get Out earlier.
Yes.
It's all right. It's not great.
See, I wouldn't consider it.
I loved it. I loved both.
I thought it.
Yeah.
I thought it was Arthur. I think I was about to say the same thing as you. I definitely think it was great, but I don't think it's for me. It doesn't land in Halloween.
Okay,
I would
It's
say
a
more
great film, but
suspense
it's not a
for
great horror
those.
film, is it?
Yeah,
If you know what I mean.
yeah.
Suspenseful, but not really horror.
Marv, I'm gonna have to jump out, mate. It's getting pretty late. I've got work in the morning. I apologise. I don't want to jump out, and I've stayed longer than I meant to. But I need to jump out, mate. If that's all right.
Give a shout
that's
out
all
to
right.
something you've got coming up,
It was a
Sean. You want
pleasure.
people to check out and where to find you.
Having fun.
Cheers. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Cheers for chatting. I'm Sean from the Review It Yourself, which just called Review It Yourself, but it's a podcast where I'm joined by regulars like Arthur and Marv. Anybody else who's been on this chat today, if you want to come on and guest, you're more than welcome to. I have got a review of Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, coming out the day before Halloween. I've also never seen any of the Friday the 13th films. I've never seen any of the Jason Nightmare on Elm Street's never seen those either. So I've got a lot of catching up to do, and I can hear it. I know everybody else is just like spitting out their coffee or whatever it is Americans drink, bless you. And I'm joking. I like to poke fun. But yeah, if you'd like to go out and find me, you can do. And my shout out podcast is Weird Horizon. Go check out Sarah. She does about cryptids and stuff like that. But thank you to Marv for having me on. Sorry if I took over a bit. I'm used to hosting rather than guesting. But no, cheers, Marv, and thanks everybody for the chat. I just have work. I need to go to sleep.
No, man.
Nice
It was a
talking to
pleasure
you.
talking to you.
Catch you soon, Sean, for those films we're going to look at.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Cheers. Oh, and please, it was Brian, wasn't it? Please let me know what you think of Final Destination 5, because
I will.
I think a lot of it.
Because I'm going to be on for 1 hour photo soon.
Oh, good stuff. I'll look forward to that one.
Yeah.
I'll look out for that one. But yeah,
Hey
thanks
guys,
everyone.
I got to get going too, but I appreciate you having me on. This was an interesting talk.
All right, Tyler, do the same. Let people know where to find you and shout out an episode or something you got coming up.
Sure. I'm just working on a movie right now. You can follow me on the Twitter. I'll have some updates. Hopefully, a trailer actually in the next couple weeks. But that's about it. Yeah. Again, thanks for having me on.
Thank you,
Yes.
Tyler.
Thanks for joining in.
We'll see you.
Hey, it was a pleasure, man. I look forward to definitely working with you on something in the future.
Sounds good, guys. We'll see you. Bye.
So we'll start to build this to a wrap. I mean, I was going to say something about a lot of the films that I like that are in this sort of genre aren't CG related, the more practical effects, because to me, there's a certain, with like stop motion effects and with a lot of prosthetics, really good prosthetic work, it's the natural, almost sort of textural thing about it that makes it even more eerie.
Yes, I agree with you 110%. I think that's honestly that's kind of what adds to the Halloween feel. That's what really, to me, that's kind of what sets the tone. That's what I always put on the last week. It's just what sets the tone, like the old Frankenstein movies. You said The Thing, just things like that. Just they're all done with practical effects, and they're done with a budget, and just whatever they have to work with their hands, they do it, and they work magic, and it's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I mean
it just drips atmosphere, and I feel like even like a David Cronenberg's movies, like I feel like they also drips atmosphere and just. I'm thinking of like The Fly, which has impressive practical effects. I love that movie. I gave it like 4.5 stars in Letterboxd when I saw it recently.
Yeah, the effects of The Fly. I mean that you can almost feel the awful gooiness of the character and that, when there's that stuff coming off him and that, and it's got that yuck factor almost that pushes it to another level, almost to another dimension.
Yes, and the thing is, The Fly isn't even just scary to watch; it's also sad too. It's very
Yeah.
tragic to watch Rundle just slowly turning into a fly human creature who is losing the ability to be human, and he just has these bestial impulses that are
It's
overtaking
my
him,
it,
and it's really
it's my
sad
turn
to
to get
watch.
yelled at because I have not seen The Fly.
Oh, you need
Ooh.
to watch it. It is really good.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
really good.
It's been on my to-do list for so long. It's my turn to get the ooh.
One of
Yeah,
Jeff's
get
best movies.
Cronenberg.
Mm.
And Jeff Goldblum is amazing in the role. I actually find
Jeff Goldblum is fantastic.
him and Gina Davis, and there's even like a side romance plot in the movie. And sometimes like when I watch this stuff, sometimes the side romances don't really engage me. Like there's just not fleshed out enough. But I actually really like the romance subplot of the movie. I felt like that added to the tragedy of the whole movie as well.
Well, you've got the natural chemistry there, Arthur, because they were both married at that time.
Yes, that's right. Yes. It does. Yes, that's a good point. But yeah, and in general, like David Cronenberg, I'm exploring more of his movies. I feel like uh, Videodrome is also another
Yeah.
great option as well. If you're talking about just like Cronenbergian horror, body horror, again, practical effects are top notch in that movie.
So
Well, guys, I gotta go. So I just wanted to say thank you for letting me come on, Marv.
okay, go
Yeah, it was
JR.
great to have you on.
JR. Yeah, JR. Let people know about the shows that you do and how to find you.
All right, you can find me across Instagram. I have 3 shows: West Virginia and Commonplace. West Virginia and Commonplace presents a collection, which we will be covering Category 3, Hong Kong exploitation cinema. I would love to have any of you on if you get a chance to watch any of those. And the other show, Spares Under Review, the sister show, we review any and everything. It doesn't matter if it's a movie, TV show, whatever. We do that. And once again, I want to thank you all. And you all, this was amazing.
Hey, it was a pleasure
Thank you,
meeting you,
JR.
man. Definitely
Definitely.
DM me the names of those, and I will watch them, and I would love to be on.
Okay, definitely. All right, y'all guys have a nice evening.
You too.
Take care.
You too.
So, okay then. So I'm going to quickly go to something that my other half, Louise, suggested was and I thought it was a great idea. Is there a specific, almost iconic horror character that to you, you know, is out there as a character just quintessential? I mean, to me, there's plenty of them, but I still think that the Tony Todd Candyman, I don't think anybody could do that character like Tony Todd did.
Yeah, he
Hmm.
was good in that role. Because I recently saw I've seen the first 2 Candyman movies, and Tony Todd is fantastic in that role. He's just like built for that. And it's funny because he's also in Candyman and then Final Destination, a few of the Final Destination movies. But Candyman specifically, yes, he fully fleshed out that role, and I think also adds a sympathetic facet to Candyman as well, as you learn about his backstory, how
Yeah.
he came to be, and how he is just someone like he's so full of hatred because of because he was murdered, and just he's just a great figure there. Yes, Candyman definitely qualifies.
Yeah.
See, for me, a horror icon that, and this might just be because, like, I don't know, when I was growing up, and I like my first memories of like going out on my own and trick or treating, where I stayed over at my buddy's house. We were playing like we were football buddies, and I stayed up all night watching all the Halloweens for like 3 days straight. So Mike Myers and the acting, I mean, is let's be honest, downright garbage. He looks like
Mm.
he's doing a funky dance with the knife half the time, but it's it's the way that, and hell, I think the music from John Carpenter's like soundtrack that he like selected for it and put together for it is almost as iconic as like Mike Myers, because
Yeah.
I don't think you have one without the other. I really don't. That's you don't often see that with like something so simple like a backdrop to it, you know, to a horror film. But I think it's that key.
Yeah, I definitely agree. The score definitely stands out. Like, and again, I haven't even seen any of the Halloween movies, but as someone who just generally loves film scores, I consume plenty of them. So I've listened to the Halloween score quite a bit. Just that, like I said before, just a minimalist score that really is just it's catchy. It stays in your brain. Yes, and then for iconic horror figures, I think the one that I'm gonna go with is Ghostface.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this as someone who has watched all of the
Mm.
Scream movies, and I just feel like Ghostface is such an interesting figure because it's not just one person; it's multiple people across multiple movies who wear the mask and go on these murder sprees, killing people. And and the mask itself is very simple. It's a simple design. It just looks like something you can buy at some costume store, but the mask has become such a popular symbol in horror. And again, something that multiple people have worn, and as they're wearing these black cloaks, wearing the masks, going around with knives most of the time, killing people with knives and just being so ruthless, so cruel, and I love that. And again, like I love in general. I love the Scream franchise. Aside from the third movie, which I don't think is all that great, I think it's quite flawed. But the rest of the movies are either like hey, I like them. They may have flaws, but I like them too. Great, fantastic.
Well, pulling away the curtain a bit with that one, and I'm going to turn into Doc, who's left the group from Therapy Bites, and I'm going to go all psychology on this. But there's something about the Ghostface character where you said, it could be anybody, and that's another thing, if you think about it, the fact that that's added to it is the fact that it could be anybody, and that adds to the whole that feel to it if you think about it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like the movies, most of the movies I had gone into with spoilers, just because it's like as like the spoilers are like, oh, they're so popular, it goes through cultural osmosis, you'll know, and unless you're really good at hiding from spoilers, you will know who the killers are. So I went into most of the movies with spoilers. That being said, I still enjoyed the ride. I still enjoyed following like, oh, how exactly what exactly does happen, how does the plot unfold, and how like I'm watching these characters, and even if I know which characters are the killers, there were a few times like when I genuinely didn't, but most of the time I did. But even then, I was so intrigued by these characters and being like, oh, okay, so it's like certain people seem to be ordinary, seem to be very charming, and seem to be maybe even great allies. But then it turns out, oh wait, there's the killers all along. There's the ghost faces we're looking for.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll start to wrap up now then. So, Arthur, what have you got coming up, and how can people get hold of you?
Well, first I want to say, thanks so much for letting me come on here. This really was a blast to talk about horror movies, and I still have, I have a podcast, like I said before, 2 Cents Critic, again, covering books, movies, and TV shows. I, continue to bring people on that, bring lots of guests on to talk about social media, go into breakdowns, and if you want to, find me, you can find me on social media, on my account on Twitter. I think, uh, just let me.
Hey
Okay,
man, it was a pleasure talking to you, dude.
like I'm on
Absolutely.
like Twitter and Instagram at 2_Cents Critic, and I'm also at Arthur_Ant18, also on Twitter, and this was such a fun time. Hopefully, tune into my show and talk about more movies. Yes.
Anytime, dude. Let me know a date, and I'm more than ready to be to guest
Oh
on
yeah,
it.
I'm always looking for guests. Yeah, so always just keep people in mind.
Cool.
Okay,
Like I say,
Brian, what about yourself? What are you up to, and how can people contact you if you want them to?
uh, use my Twitter at official BKCOMDY. Um, at the moment, I've got a Discord show that I'm guest hosting on the 29th,
Cool.
and I've that'll be it's like a weird Discord Halloween thing that's like not getting released until the day of. I don't know, but it's how the guy wants to do it. So, and then I've got I think I've got 2 November things that they'll be up on my Twitter at some point that I'll post. I'm not good with calendar. My wife normally does it for me.
I understand that. I
um,
understand that.
yeah, and as far as shouting out a podcast, aside from shouting out, um, uh, friggin' pods like us for having me on and for putting this together and like hell yeah, dude! Like this was a good. I had a lot of time, a lot of fun doing this.
Thank
And
you,
Yeah.
Brian.
the one I want to shout out, it's more of a popular. It's not horror based at all, but it's one that in this world of degradation and terrible, emotions all around. The If I Were You podcast through Headgum is it's just always a, a, a blast to listen to. But my wife told me to also say the Dark History podcast is also very good because that fits more with the theme.
Ooh, okay, I'll
So
check those out definitely. I think if I were you, I feel like I vaguely heard of that one as well. But
it's Jake and Amir.
okay, definitely check that out. Yes, and then speaking of which, I actually do have my own podcast to give a shout out to as well, and I would give a shout out to Horror Queers, which is a podcast that focuses on horror through a queer perspective, and that's a great show. I've been listening to that for a while. I've actually had both of the hosts on Two Cents Critic as well, and the hosts always have really thought-provoking, fun conversations about horror. Yes, Horror Queers. That's my podcast. I'll give a shout out to. And also, I'm also on Letterboxd as well at Arthur_Ant18 on Letterboxd.
I feel really bad because I'm going to shout one out that's almost like a big show in a sense. I'm really enjoying the Aaron Mankey produced uh, audio drama anthology, 13 Days of Halloween. I've really enjoyed
Mm,
listening to that.
Ooh,
yes.
I like a lot of his shows actually. Um, and then you've got like Tracing Owls is a good show that looks into myths and legendary creatures, going all the way from Bigfoot to all of these strange other creatures all over the world,
Ooh,
and
love
that's
cryptids.
fascinating.
ooh, very nice, very nice.
Cool. And hey, if I can do like a literal 2 seconds before I actually sign off because I do got to get out of here.
Go on, Brian.
One last thing that I want to shout out is oh my god, wow, I just completely blanked on that. I had it in my mind, but anyway, I guess it wasn't that important
Oh
to me.
no! Oh no! I hate when that happens.
That's
Oh,
okay. It is what it is. I guess it wasn't like I said. Couldn't have been that important then. But
oh
yeah.
well,
Like guys, it was a real pleasure being on. Thank you for having me
definitely.
on, and I look forward to working with both of you guys in the future. Have a good night.
Absolutely,
Absolutely.
absolutely. You can find pods like us on all of the socials: Instagram, Twitter, Threads, TikTok, and Facebook. And we're contactable through podlikeus@gmail.com. Anyway, we've had some great guests today, and thank you everyone for listening. And hope you listen again to another episode of Pods Like Us.
Hey everybody, sorry I couldn't make it. I wanted to be there so badly to talk about horror films. This is Clayton from the Men Who Like Men Who Like Movies podcast. So, what I look for in horror film is atmosphere, vibes, preferably something bleak. My top 3 go-tos are always Carter Smith's The Ruins. It's dark, it's fucked up, it's brutal. Total comfort horror for me. The Evil Dead remake from 2013. You can't go wrong. Throw it on all the time. My other one is the little known, little seen, underappreciated, underrated, and one of my all-time favorites, The Black Coat's Daughter. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Bleak, cold, amazing. Great time. So, if you want to check out what we've been talking about, Men Who Like Movies. We just did an episode on Oculus, good old Mike Flanagan. We've got an episode coming out on It Follows. I have to suggest, other than my own podcast, Men Who Like Movies, check it out. You can find it anywhere. Listen to the podcast cover to credits. It's my happy place. It's so good. They cover books and their movie adaptations. This month they did The Ring and The Thing. Great time. Check it out. I hope you guys have a great time talking about horror. I'm so sad I couldn't be there, but here's my thoughts.